Uh, well, it's been something like a 14-hour day for work. Start early, end late. That's what I always say. Peasy. But we have something really, really, I don't know, really cool. I am looking forward to it. Didn't even know this existed. Apparently, it was announced back in December in China, and oh, ow, got something right there that hurts. Ow, oh. Yeah, look at me with your big eyes. Yeah. Oh. So it was announced in December of 2024 in China, and supposedly released in May 2025 in the US of A. However, I didn't know about it. Now, this has happened in the past with the Sony MV1s. The open back Sonys. I don't remember how many months behind I got these, but it was quite a few. Same with the M1 ST, but that's maybe because that's like a studio exclusive Japan only model. You know, I don't know how far behind I was with that, but I was a little bit behind. You know, it's no. Where are you guys with your reference Sony headphone lists? And why aren't you just emailing me they're coming out? So when did I figure out about this new Sony headphone? Right? Well, it's when I was on Sony Japan's website. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, bummer. I miss Sushima Mire. Apparently, they were just in Chicago on the 3rd of this month. And, yeah. Saw them and P-Lander Z were performing together. And I was like, huh, that means they're in the U.S. Because P-Lander Z is from New York, I believe. And originally from Japan, but, currently operating out of New York. And I'm like, huh, that means they're probably in the U.S. And it does indeed, and I miss them. That's the 2nd year in a row. Last year I did know about it. I just couldn't get off soon enough. I mean, the 3rd, that was almost a month ago at this point. 1, 2, 3 and a bit weeks ago. It was a Wednesday. I probably... I could have made it happen. Maybe going to Chicago on Wednesday. This is coming. This is not what we're looking at today, but that is the CD900ST, and specifically a first take exclusive version, 300 units. I may have gotten an order in for that. And well on Sony's website for that, because right over here is Sony's website, right? Thinking. All right, that's the MV1. All right, thinking. That's that, right? So I'm on the website for this, and somehow I get to their home page, right? And then right there, 2025, 9/19. So I saw it on the 21st when I was ordering the CD900ST, and that is the MDR-M1. So that's what we're taking a crack at today. But yeah, so I was only 2 days late if we go by Japan time. It's kind of funny that I am more caught up with it being released in Japan than I am the United States and the rest of the world. And whereas this headphone is mainly like not advertised for, but like mainly like designed to go to. What I call it that. Shipping, musician's friend. So this is another order I got from musician's friend. They had it in stock. They take the PayPal. I know a lot of you don't like PayPal. It is awfully convenient though. The other thing that musician's friend had is They had these like 11 or so % off, and for any accessories on their website, they just had a flat 20%, meaning I got these bad boys for basically the same price as you would get them used. Now this is awfully dusty because I haven't gotten in a case yet. But these are my DT770 Pro X's. The limited editions. These have, you can see how dusty they are because they've just been sitting out in the basement. Usually I get a nice case for them, but these I didn't. You can see the cable too. But Beyerdynamic, you can see that Beyerdynamic finally figured out how to make a detachable cable after literal decades. It's like a 3-pin mini 3-pin XLR. Odd choice too with that. Very durable, but just an odd choice. They actually make the 990 Pro X's now because they used to be 700s, but they went back to the older design but with the newer drivers. And I much prefer the older design. At some point, I'll probably get the 900s or the 990s, because the issue that I had with the I'm trying to remember what the term is. We'll probably remember that term in a bit here. We're gonna use the new tactile turn knife there. Aerodynamic. No, can't do it here. Blah, 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 blah. I don't remember the term. We brought it up in other headphone videos. Maybe I'll remember it by God, it's gonna bug me. It's not that it's broken. The sound type or the sound issue I'm talking about is very similar to the cymbal sound. And you hear it a lot. I've talked about where I listen to a lot of jazz, so you get a lot of the and at the Beyerdynamics, it's quite annoying. And once you hear it, and then we're talking about like the original 770s, 990s, but the newer, what are they like? Stellar 45 driver. That might be a different headphone. But their newer driver either doesn't have that issue, or let me look up. Sibilance. Sibilance? Yeah, sibilance. Sibilance. Yeah, look that up. That is an issue that the original DT770 and 990 have. Whoop. You guys didn't need to see that. They just stick it right on in the inside, don't they? Forgot about that. I actually had a musician's friend call me randomly the other week. Actually, probably a month or two ago. But I hadn't ordered from them in, I don't know, whenever the 770s came out. It was 2 years, I think, or a year. April of 24 is when I picked those up. I don't, yeah. I don't tend to, or try not to pick up that many headphones, you know. But I like the classic Bear Dynamics minus the sibilance, and supposedly their new speaker fixed that. So I picked up, especially because they said those 770 Pro X's were going to be a limited edition. Obviously they weren't, because enough people apparently bought the 770s over the 700s that they even make 990 Pro X's instead of 900 Pro X's. I think that might just be like, people like the 502 or the Death Adder mouse, so they keep making it. In this case, this is the Sony MDR-M1. What is it before we open it? It is the international, maybe not commoditized version, but like the international, more readily available, like sold in the US, at least at like professional music stores, and like you can actually get these straight off of Amazon. I'll throw a link down below in the description. I think they were on some amount of sale even, because there's that weird thing, like I said, they were announced in December. It actually has Sony 2024 on the bottom of the box. Came out in I think it was May is when I'm seeing a lot of stuff in news, but I don't know if it was kind of a stealth launch or what. Like I said, like a lot of audiophiles are not into the Sony reference or Sony, in this case, studio monitor headphones. So like I don't see it when I see my audiophile news. I don't see the new Sony headphones. It's kind of a bummer. But what they are is they are the like sort of international commoditized version of the Sony MDR-M1 ST out of Japan. And you guys are like, well, what's the MDR-M1 ST? This is the new updated version, or like the replacement effectively for the CD900 ST. CD900 ST, you just saw that earlier on the First Take. Like I'm getting that First Take exclusive model. I actually do not have one. So it's going to be really nice to get a CD900 ST finally. But these have been used maybe not every day since I've gotten them. But, I mean, now they're the at-work headphones. These M1s will be now. Because then I can take my sort of more limited Japanese ones home. But these are effectively the follow-up to the CD900 ST. What's the CD900 ST? For those that know the 7506, that is it's like everybody uses those as vocal monitoring headphones. Like they're the Sony one. That's what the Dynamic DT770 is used for. What is the 7506? It is the professional follow-up to my, and many other people's, MDR-V6, which is right there. So it went MDR-V6, MDR-7506, because basically Sony found out people were using these professionally, and they switched it over from an older style magnet. Ooh, we got some peeling up here. I was looking for an excuse to get some Yaxi pads, but no peeling on the ear cup yet, because these should be real. Yep, this is real leather, right? This looks like the stretchy bit here seems to be fake leather. That's interesting, that, because I was like, my real leather shouldn't peel. This is peeling like mad up there. Once you get it going. I want to say these ear cups are probably like 10 years now. I really just need to buy him a nice pair of Yaxi pads. 7506, professional version of this. With the 7506, they also introduced the neodymium magnets. I purposefully picked up a MDR V6 that predates the neodymium magnets, which I believe that swapped out in 90. Also happens to be, you know, there's a reason why I grew up with a pair of these without knowing it, is because these were just headphones at that time. You know, like they were the Sony headphones, like the good ones of that time, that era. Especially if you're into like mixing music or live music or in that sort of stuff. You know, audiophile of the era of sorts. So I purposely got a pair that predated. That's why and I've used them a whole bunch. Really needs a new headband. Like the stuff in the middle is getting worn out. Went through like 3 sets of the original Sony ups before I was finally like, I gotta see if there's something better. And I got these leather ones. 7506, right? Then CD900ST is the Sony Studio variant of the 7506. This guy has a screw-off connector. Originally, it wasn't gold-plated on the V6. It's this nickel, right? Except mine broke and exploded many a year ago, and I put a Shure adapter on there. So the 7506 is gold-plated for better durability. That's actually why they switched the neodymium magnets. Is they're smaller, and they can take more of a punch, like from amps and that sort of stuff. And like if you're using it for monitoring or live music, you're probably gonna have to put a lot more power through them than you would compared to a consumer. CD900ST is, this doesn't screw off. It has a straight cable stupid long, because it's meant, and these you saw they collapsed. CD900ST does not collapse. You'll see that when my pair comes in. You know, I mean, if they ordered it, I should be one of those 300. So like, and they basically just optimize it. There's some different like baffling and padding and stuff in the like inside, but that was a modified, like effectively they modified the headphones to be the studio variant. Like they you know, the hinges would break. They just got rid of it. They terminated it in a 1/4 inch directly, not screw off. Straight cable, because you run it down the microphone or from the amp or wherever, right? They don't want the stretchy springiness of it. You know, but it's still like a modified version of this. But that was basically, if you've heard any J-pop or pop rock out of Japan, it was probably recorded with every person there wearing a CD900ST. Much like a lot of stuff in the US was recorded with a pair of MDR V6s or 7506s, depending on the era. So this was the follow-up to that. And the other thing is CD900ST, that wasn't actually made by like Sony Electronics. I don't know if it'll say on here. Sony Environment Packaging. Sony headphones made in Thailand. That is another actual product may differ. You know, so this, like I said, is the kind of mass-produced variant of these. These are made in Japan. Right there. Made in Japan. So this is actually, these were designed by their, like they also have some really high-end in-ears back in like, was that the 90s or 2000s? Those were designed by their studio portion, like Sony Studio, that runs all of Sony Music Japan's studios, right? So these headphones were actually designed for them. There was a period, we've done my 7520s before, where Sony thought that they finally replaced at least these, at least MDR V6s, if not the 7506s, but that didn't last because the shape was different. If you notice, the shape of these, I mean, ignoring the aftermarket cups, is very similar to the M1 ST, right? That's purposeful. Headband shape, in my opinion, comfort-wise, the M1 ST is just a better version of this old. And that is really what they were deciding on doing, because they made a headphone that was better with the 7520, right? And there were other stuff. There were like 7508, 75, like there was all this other stuff in between there. But 7520 was their but they changed the headphone design. It was designed more on, I think it was previously available in like more of a consumer, like the headband was available in like a consumer headphone. Japanese market hated it. They would not adopt it. Then the speakers in those were so sensitive that they got banned in the EU for anything but professional musician stuff, which basically eliminated them as being a viable market, right? Because if you're limited to that, like, so then they were available in the US for a short period of time. I have a pair, even got a custom cable for them, but they ended up being, because like Japan was so used to effectively this, in their own variant, that switching to something that, even though it may be technically very good, right, it like everybody was used to putting this in their head and wearing this, etc., right? So that's where the M1 ST comes in. It is, made in Japan, designed by the like Sony studio branch, right, for use in their studios. Still often you'll see on the first take that they're still using the CD900 ST and not this. For every now and then, like when this first came out, you saw it. That's how I found out about it. I'm like, that looks different. Huh, what is that? Zoom, enhance, zoom, research. Right, and every now and then you'll see them pop up because some of the artists do have their preferences. Some even bring their own headphones in. I think they're allowed to. It's just like what's provided. I want to say around COVID is when these came in too. I don't know if they were just more easily accessible or they were trying to like stealth promote them. I don't remember specifically, but back on the backstory, this is made in Japan for Japanese studios. Effectively, you can buy one. Obviously, I have them here. You can just buy them on Amazon in Japan. But these were never sold outside the US, ever. Their ohms are stupid low, too. It's something like 20. Something around there. So stupid easy to drive, like super sensitive as well. Let me check here. So I did a conversion. Impedance. That doesn't make any sense. So they're 24 ohm, whereas the MDR-V1 are also 24 ohm. The CD900 ST are 63. That's why they're, if you ever have like an MDR-V6 or a 7506, they're a little bit tough to drive. Not something that other stuff can't drive, but you could still drive them off of an iPod. You just might not get as much volume out of them, right? Because 32 ohm is kind of like what mobile electronics are designed after. So your M1 ST, like I said, is 24 ohm, and the MDR-M1 is also 24 ohm, and this was a very much US oriented. Sony finally made an open back. I should probably just take this cable off. For now, at least. This one seems all beat up because Paisley would chomp on it. But these are the MV ones. Sony finally made an open back, and I wanted that for the longest time, because if you notice, one thing about Sony's headphones, their studio ones, is how compact they are. Look at that, right? Compared to this. Like, it's crazy how light and small they are comparatively. Now, on the M1 ST, that's a bit of a downside because I had to swap out for the Yaxi pads, because my ears, my big Western American ears with dangly bits on them, would be pressed right up against that inner speaker in there, right? Ever since I put Yaxi pads on them, not a problem. One of the things they did change in, well, the MDR-M1 also has nice, big, deep cups, much bigger opening. But yeah, the fact that they managed to make I mean, if anybody you have it, name me another open back that is this compact. Love these. These are what I use basically every day at home. But you can tell they went back to sort of like the blue professional, which is on the 7506. So that's sort of like the more like Western consumer one, whereas the Japanese one is going to use the red, right? You can see your original MDR, right there. MDR V6s use the red as well. Let's now get this cracked open. You can also see a shiny Sony logo. Like it's like silver. Mine might be a little less silver than it once was. But then the professional ones go with white. Right. See, that's shiny, but then it's the white, like and these look nigh on. They're the replacement for the 7506, which is like the professional version of this guy. And they added that blue professional in the Western market when and maybe Japan as well, but when they came up with the 7506 and they changed that to neodymium magnet. So what this is, like I said, this is the sort of commoditized version of these. What's available, if you notice, it's got the blue professional to match with the Western market, to match the 7506. It also will have deeper cups on it. Now, if I could just find, that's where we enter it. I know I probably took like 20 minutes to get to where we actually start opening this up. But that's why I'm so pumped, right? So you guys don't have to import these from Japan anymore, right? And you don't have to be stuck with technology from the 90s with the 7506. Not that those sound bad. There's a reason why they still exist. Just like same thing with the original Beyerdynamic 770s and 990s. Those were designed around the same time. It took them this long, up until a couple years ago, to come up with like a replacement speaker and then get it into a form factor, like the old form factor that people actually wanted. If you notice, the same thing happened there. Beyerdynamic made a new speaker with a new form factor, and people went to the old form factor with the new speaker basically as soon as they could. And that's why I bought them, is because I was like, hey, if this is limited edition, only 1 year, whatever. I literally never had a problem with Sony professional headphones. So take a look at that in a second. There they are. So one thing that they have done with this is, I don't know if you can tell there, those are much deeper cups. Maybe not deeper than my Yaxi pads, but they're on the same level. I'm pretty sure that Sony looked at the fact that basically everybody that got these got Yaxi pads. Or at least everybody in the Western market. Because people were complaining. Now, I will admit that the sound of these is more true and more correct when you use the original pads. Like, it's more correct to what they tuned, right? But if I can't wear them without my ears physically bleeding due to how flat and up against my ears they fit, it doesn't matter, right? Whereas just this little bit, also, I feel like they seal better with the spoolure and the, like this two-part where it's got the leatherette sides and the velour. It's just a much more comfortable ear cup, and it didn't give it a much. If you look up front here, right, there is not that much clearance, but that's like, do you see how there's any height on the stock pads? That would have been rubbing your ear, at least with my size head and my size ears, which are not, remember, designed specifically and exclusively for the Japanese market. They are smaller people than I, with smaller heads than I. Maybe not all of them, but, you know, like in general. So that is why I showed you where the thickness of these might even be, now those have been compressed for years at this point, but very similar height-wise to the Yaxi pads. Opening also bigger, to me looks bigger than even the Yaxi pads. Much more similar to what was available on the MV1s, which makes sense because this is kind of like more of a, like this is a closed back version of an MV1 or sort of like that. Or like I said, it's a commercialized version of, or commoditized version of the M1STs. You can see here, we do have the white, but we have the professional in that sort of tealy blue rather than the studio monitor in the red, right? We should still have the red and blue, right? And no made in Japan at all anywhere. Just like these guys, they too are not, because this is meant for a much wider market, and they're, you know, you can see I wear these all the fucking time. Same thing you can see with these. They got all sorts of like build. I really need to clean these off probably. I saw like, look at that. That's not dust. That's, I don't know, something got spilled. I didn't spill anything on them. But you can see wear marks of where I grab it. Right there. Yeah, these have been, basically they came into service. To be truthful, I didn't initially order the Yaxi pads from, because I'm like, you know, aftermarket pads, whatever. If you buy the M1ST, buy the aftermarket pads. That's all I'm gonna say there. I basically didn't use them because of the pain it was putting my ears in, until I got them, and now they're literally used daily or nearly. This is all very nice. It's like cloth, probably made out of paper. I always wear Sony's on 4. Sony has had the same sizing since the 90s. 4. Now these are very worn out, so here, like, it doesn't, of course it stays there, but you know, see, it doesn't want to stay. The newer ones have gotten much better. Realistically, with the MDR V6s, you would just put them on your head and pull down till they fit. Having used the M1STs and the MV1s, that ear opening really could be bigger, right? A lot of times you'd see these with flat cups on them, where people would make them on ears with like really oversized cushions if they're doing like audio monitoring. Like some of them almost look like mops. But yeah, if you look at that ear opening, that is way more than that. So it's not that these are on ear. They're not. I mean, like part of the ear cup is on my ear. But the you kind of hook the back of your ear in, and the front of the ear is on your like front of your ear. Once you hook your back of your ear in, but they're like semi on ear, I guess. These guys, let's give it a shot. On 4. Ah, yeah. See, this is how you know a company knows how to make stuff. That's all I'm gonna say. I put these on 4. I put my V6s. I could go and do basically any of the professional Sony reference studio monitor, any of those. Put them on size 4. All of those also fit at size 4. That's consistency. That is it's 4 on both sides. You know, that is, and look at this. This fits great. I would actually argue that these pads isolate better than, because they're full leatherette, than the M1STs with the Yaxi pads. Now these are awfully comfortable. You can see wear there. That's for my glasses. oddly more on the one side. I guess that's the side I have my microphone on. Than the other side, but probably a little bit more weight because I do put, if those wondering, what's that little spiny guy? That is a mount for my mod mic, which isn't, I use the mod mic wireless because I like wearing wired headphones, but I don't always like having the mic attached. All right, so here's the mod mic wireless, and it just attaches via that magnet. So I will be putting one on these. So far, the only headphones that don't have one of mine that I use regularly are my R70XAs because they are so freaking lightweight. It actually throws the headphones off. Not off your head, but like they're so lightweight, and the R70Xs had quite a bit of clamp force, so I could do that. The R70XAs, due to their lighter weight and how they're designed, like because the headband more hangs on your head rather than requiring the sides to clamp on it, it almost feels like you're not wearing these. Even having the mic on like tips them. Oh, here's the Japanese page comparing the MDR-M1 that is on my head right now. 40mm driver. All that's the same. That's like milliwatts. Well, at least on the new ones. 5,000, 80,000, 102 dB. So it's a little less sensitive than the M1 ST. Remember, that is a more premium product. 50 ohm versus 24 ohm, right? 216 grams doing 215. I really think they're using the same chassis. The weight difference is probably these bigger ear cups, and if you check my if you measured the weight with my Yaxi pads on, it'd probably be the same, you know. So this comes with two cables, 1.2 and a 2.5. This has 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. Too long for my use. I want the 1.2, which is that's a 5-foot cable. Maybe 4 foot. Either way, like 4 to 5 foot is what I like. I used to always buy 4. 5 gets me a little bit of leeway with turning in the chair and moving and stuff like that. Yeah, the MV ones are a little less sensitive. With the 100 dB, but they are open back, and they're like properly compact open back option. So, I did throw this into Google Translate. It got the ohms wrong, which is why, because it says 500 at 1 kilohertz. So I thought these ohms symbols were zeros. Everything else was correct though. So, yep. Also, the M1 STs do not have their 1/4 inch only, because remember, these are studio headphones. Now it's a detachable cable, so you can just swap the cable out. We'll get to that. You guys really should be getting the locking cables. Otherwise, you're going to wreck your cables, as I have. So yeah, these things, they isolate noise quite well. Let me try swapping on my M1 STs with the Yaxi pads and talking the same way. M1 STs with Yaxi pads. Oh yeah, these are much more. They are lighter weight. I can feel it, but they also feel lighter. Like they don't seal in as much. Now that could have as much to do with the pad in many cases, especially because they're quite worn in, as it does the rest of the headphone. But these are. There might be slightly more padding on the M1 versus my M1 ST, but you know, like there's no wear on this. Whereas here, there's plenty of wear, right? I guess something I can see is that this is much more of a black on the adjustment here, right? Whereas on the M1, it's like a gunmetal with white. Oh, the numbers. Oh, no, I said numbers are on a different side. I almost said that. Nope. But yeah, the metal on here is like a much blacker black compared to on the M1, at least for mine. Maybe there's some variants out there. But this is more of like a gunmetal. Like it's got a little bit of silver to it. Here you can definitely see it at an angle. It's not silver. It's just got, you know, like they anodized it lighter or something. There's all my grease on my head grease. Yeah, they fit me perfectly at number 4, which, like I said, same with the V6s, all the way back to you know, when I became a grown human, basically. These I've had. I purposely went on my way to buy a used pair, dated like 90 or earlier, right? Now that sort of one, like these specifically, are getting very, like if you want to sell them in Japan and you can prove that, I don't know that I necessarily could prove that at this point for those, because I didn't even think that I would need to at any point in time. But if you can prove they're like 90 or earlier, like they have the non-neodymium magnets, there was some money over in Japan. Maybe in the worldwide audio community as well, but yeah, like generally Japan is really up for the Sony stuff, you know. All right, comes with, Sony has done this for quite a while. I think even my 7520s have this sort of like it's very durable because these are meant to be professional headphones. So it's got those lines in it. Usually that's an indication of a very, very durable cable. Screw-on connector. Here, you want to see? This standard should be the same since basically forever. Here to here, right? And this isn't even a Sony screw-on plug. This is a Shure. There you go. Perfect fit. Why'd you get a Shure? Well, it was on Amazon and listed as being compatible with the MDR-V6s. And why did I need it? Well, this cable, when I bought these, I actually replaced the cable once. And I still have some weirdness to it, like where it twisted right at the end there. I used to really like these cables, because if you're using like long cabled headphones with like an iPod, you can see it there too, the end ones always became uncurly-cued. But I had to replace the, and that's why it cants out a little bit like that. I did that, in high school? So, quite a while ago, let's put it that way. But I had to replace that. Now, back in the day, you could get every part replaced for a 7506 and an MDR-V6. The other reason why this ended up having it replaced is this connector broke internally here. Then what happened is I was still using the same original 1/4 inch to 3.5 mil. We go to plug it in, and one of my buddies pulls it out of his DAC amp at a LAN party, or sound card. There were sound cards back in the day that had they had desktop components to them, like it came up on your desk that had a 1/4 inch jack, or some of them had straight 1/4 inch in the back. Unplugged it, the whole connector just came apart. Like the whole, and that's why I needed a new one. So, I've had that Shure one, for forever. Yeah, it's like I need a new band. Like there's no cushion left. That's just cardboard in there or something. But they're still kicking. These are the ones that I always have downstairs. Because if I need to monitor an audio source and I don't have another pair of my nicer headphones readily available, I know these will do it. So we have here our 2.5 meter cable. This looks identical to actually I think this Sony one fits worse than the Shure did. Like it's looser. This is your 2.5 meter. And to clarify, look, it's screw on, right? Screw on. That's plastic. See, plug it in, screw it on. Doesn't come out. Same thing. This is the. Laser, what do you? Oh, I rolled over your bag. All right, guys and gals, look, the bag. That's Paisley sending me a message that I should be done. I'm probably not going to unwrap these because I am not going to be using the stock cable. Already have plenty of solutions, but if you notice, there's a big thing about these Sony ones, and this started with the M1 ST. 1/4 inch, 4-pole, or sorry, not 1/4 inch, 3.5 millimeter 4-pole. And then yes, it does go to a 3-pole or 1/4 inch 3-pole, depending on which one. And you're like, oh, that's the same as 7520. No, it's not. Though the 7520 came with a 4-pole cable, they only used 3, right? Whereas this guy, because it wasn't balanced, whereas the MDR-M1 STs are capable of taking a balanced signal and do use all the poles. If you do not use a cable that has all 4 on there, things get wacky. Your channels aren't going to work correctly. Which makes getting cables hard because the amount of cables that are screw-on 4-pole, and a lot of you are going to be like, well, no, you can just get a 3.5 millimeter and jam it in there. I'm going to show you because I did for years because I didn't want to pony up for these Wagness audio, which I do a video on these Wagness audio cables, which for the longest time, even when the MDR-M1 was out, these were the only ones that had 4-pole screw on. And that's because Wagness went to a well-known audio connector company in Japan and had them custom make this for the Sony headphones. Literally didn't exist prior to this. Then there was a knockoff of this one in Japan, never in stock. I did see some Japanese companies using it, but almost all the ones that used the, I don't want to call it a knockoff connector, maybe somebody else also paid to get one designed, but they never had a balanced connector on the other end. Or what they, like what a lot of places would do is they would take your stock cable here, because it does have 4 poles, chop the connector off, so you wouldn't get a nicer cable. You could get a balanced plug because they would modify existing wires, right? And that's because nobody could get this end until Wagness did. I forget the company. I did a whole bunch of research. Audio Sound was helping me because he was all up for it. He's the one that made me my custom cable for my 7520s. And that was using a connector from a brand in the US. Yeah, you can see this blue cable is not held up as well. I also have the black one that I was using at work with the 75. Here, like, look up how much those cables were. Price technically has probably gone down because the yen is so weak, but they're bordering on the same cost as the headphones. Let's put it that way. Here's the much more durable black one, but it's way thicker, way stiffer. So I brought it to work. I may switch to using this one with the MV1s. Hey, kitten. Yeah, you know this is headphone cables. You're trying to go after them already. And the reason why I got those is I was trying to work with forget his name over at Audio Sound, but to get custom cables made for these that had the screw-on connector. And the reason for that, if Paisley will let me, here's my jumble of Sony OEM aftermarket wires. There are knockoffs. They're all over AliExpress. So this one's not that bad because I didn't use it that often. I ended up picking it up because it was actually getting hard to find these. So this is from an older line, from a, let's call it like prosumer / audiophile. If you notice, it has the correct shape and everything, right? But no screw on. Like, that is not a screw on. And then this just goes to 3.5 mil. These are the 1 point whatever foot cables. You know, like they're the, was it 4 or 5 foot cable? I think I used to do 4 foot, now I prefer 5 foot. But I didn't use that one that often. It was basically only when using it with portable devices. Still kept it in my headphone case. For those wondering, if you need a case for the M1 STs, GEEKRIA literally makes one for it. They do not make one for the M1s yet. We'll see if that case fits. It's awfully slim. In that case, for sure, does not fix the much larger MV ones, because they're just like the whole thing is bigger, right? Here's the issue with using a non-screw-on connector. I don't know if you can see there, but can you see rings that go all the way around it on every piece? What they do is they rotate in the socket, and whatever is in there for the pins is either hard enough or sharp enough that it eats away at your connector. And that sadly is why over at Audio Sound, they didn't want to make me a cable, because they do warranty their cables, and they've even fixed one of mine before. Because they couldn't prevent this, because they couldn't get locking connectors, right? And here you might be able to see by the wear here, this cable has seen a ton of wear. It was only once I was starting to get like staticky issues and stuff like that did I replace it, because I felt like it was doing fine. Paisley Marie, can you move? Paisley? I know you're like, wire, cable, wire. I'm gonna get that thing. Come here. Come on. Come on, get that. You can sit in my lap. Nope. Not having that. So I'll show you with the M1s, because this will fit. Right, so here's our issue. We plug it in. Fits great, but that's spinning right there. That's what's gonna etch that in there. So that is why temporarily, if you want, because you can get 4-pole, because the 4-pole 3.5 millimeter, you're like, oh, that's really common. Yeah, it's because it's what's used for your headset cables, right? But if you use one of those, especially if you're buying a high-end one, watch out, because the Sony headphones are basically going to kill it with any amount of regular use. Not that you saw that this end held up great. Granted, I've had some DD hi-fi stuff, kind of that's just use on a connector, basically. That's why having removable cables is nice, because you just remove the cable. Now there was, and the one that you'll see knocked off is a braided version, like a individually wire braided version, Sony one that's made by I think it was a Japanese audiophile brand. That is the cable, the version of this that you will see knocked off on. If you see them for suspiciously low prices, like this cable, I want to say was $100-something back in the day. I might be wrong there, but I think it was not cheap. Okay. And that was my other thing, was like, hey, if I'm spending this much on the cable, I don't just want to wear it out, right? Or maybe it was 50. Maybe this was only 50. But it was rather expensive for something that, like, if I rebought, I know I would just wear out again, right? And there was a higher end one that I opted not to get. That was like the audiophile grade one, made in partnership with a company. That is the one you'll see knocked off everywhere, for dirt cheap. So, I mean, get that if you want to. There are other options that we'll pursue in, like, hopefully follow-up videos and stuff like that. But also, even that one would wear out, because it's not a screw-on connector. Though it fits properly, and it is the Sony cable, and at the time, this is the one that was recommended, as well as if this guy. Basically, if you ran the M1 ST, your options were this guy, if you want to go 3.5 millimeter, not 1/4 inch, right? Because it was native 1/4 inch. Or this guy, if you wanted to go 4.4 millimeter balanced, right? Or there was a higher end version of this that went to 4.4 balanced as well. There might have been some other ones that went to more exotic balanced formats. But basically, if you wanted a shorter cable, which is what a lot of people were looking for with the M1 ST, especially if you're going to daily drive it or use it at your desk, these kind of were your two options for like years, until the black and the blue one I showed you from Wagness. These were it, and you would just wear them out. Now, like I said, I didn't use this one anywhere near as much. Did use it with my iPod a bit. I do like the right angle connector on it, and you can see it's just nowhere near as premium as this guy. And then the audiophile one is like built more premium than this. But some people actually said that there was more cord noise with the higher end cable and some other stuff, like cord noise isn't like rubbing on your shirt sort of thing. And they liked the sound out of it better. I was mainly looking that I could plug it in balanced, right? So I will probably be using either my black or my blue cable with these MV1s. Or sorry, not MV1s, M1s. And these will probably be making their trip to work. Well, here, yeah, I just put that away. Let's, I can put this here. My bed's clean. I just made it. I say that, and then there's a cat litter. Get out of here, cat litter. Let's put the, oh, just pulled some on my shoulder. Oh, old man. Doggy Kong, you gotta move. Okay, MV1s, M1STs, MV1s, M1STs, MDR-M1s, right? In here. Oh. So what do I have in here? What's this guy? Oh, we just have a 3.5mm 1/4" jack. Ah, that's because this cable, the non-balanced cable, was only 3.5mm. So if I wanted the shorter cable, but I would need to go to 1/4" because a lot of DAC amps only have 1/4". You needed the adapter. I mean, another adapter I'd use for a while, I have over here as well. And I'll probably be using this for my headphone comparison. Is this guy. DD Hi-Fi is great. I don't think they make it with Nutric connectors anymore, but there you go, DD Hi-Fi. This is an XLR 488, or XLR 44B. I think they make a newer version that doesn't use the Nutric connector anymore. But the reason why I need this is if you notice it converts an XLR to a 4.4mm. And I think the D7S at the time of me getting the M1STs did not have 4.4mm. It did the 1/4" balanced, or the XLR balanced. So I needed this adapter. Basically, I would just take this guy and go like that, and then plug the XLR in. So that used to live in here as well. Oh, right there. Not needed though once my DAC amp, well, DAC amps, everything since the DX7 Pro has had native 4.4mm. So here, they're in here. This is no other cables. Like we do have this in there, right? But no cables in the little pouch. Yeah. I think we're fine. I might need to move the pouch up a little bit. Often it's supposed to be like that, I found out. So you go like that. Then if you open it up, yep, it should have Velcroed itself into the correct area. And then now it closes much nicer. Because that way all your cable bulk goes in this area. Right. So yeah, get yourself the MDR M1ST case from GEEKRIA. I will probably get another one to take these to work tomorrow, because I'm gonna go in and work. I will probably take this case because I don't have one for these. And transporting headphones can be, like, over-ear headphones can be quite awkward without a case. I will probably just keep these in here. I mean, that way, even if I don't bring my high-end cable tomorrow, I'll at least have a cable. I say not a high-end cable, but you know, these aren't cheap. And I don't think they've really gone down. The good thing is we do have other options finally. Yeah, he's still working a pinch, especially this guy. This guy's not worn out. Now, like technically the balanced, the 4.4 mil balance would work in a pinch. It's just, if it moves, you get scratchy noises because the plating's worn out. So here, that's got 2 cables in there. No problem. No problem. So, and then normally I would take my better one like this, the Wagness, and kind of put it within that area. So this is the black one, much thicker. If I recall, one of the, like, they use different amount of strands in them and different gauge wire. So this is a much stiffer cable, you can probably tell, and it's much thicker. It has much thicker sleeving on it too, so it's much more durable. That's why it went to work. You can see, or I shouldn't say it's much stiffer. This one's actually much stiffer. So it's thinner wire, stiffer. This is thicker wire, but much more flexible. But then the sleeving makes it like more to deal with on your head. Thought that would be better for work. I mean, like, this thing held up very well at work. This thing, I call it thing, this cable, a lot of that is Paisley. A lot of it. Some of it is me rolling it over with my chair, which is bad. Don't roll over your really expensive headphone cables with your chair. That's the one issue with the 5-foot cable, is that at this distance, at desk height, it is like exactly at the floor. 4-foot cable would have never had that issue. The other downside of these Wagnesses is there's no strain relief here. So, but I did talk to my friends over at Brain. Just talked about it earlier. It's getting quite late at night, and after, like I said, I started this out by saying I worked a 14-hour shift. Yet literally did. Had to go in early for some training that was required, and brain melty. Audio Sound. There we go. Audio Sound. They're out of the UK. I did talk to him, and he was cool with, like, if I ever do damage these, they are warranted in Japan, but I gotta get them back to Japan. What I might end up doing is actually just shipping them to him, and he'll take the connectors off and make new cables just with the connectors. Not saying Wagness is bad. If you were to get one of the two, I would probably get the black one. It's held up considerably better. This blue one is super freaking stiff. Like, it just, you see that? Like, it's like, which I think that causes it to, like, just, see, it does these weird bends too sometimes, like that. Like I said, you gotta kind of, like, but then every time you do that with copper, there's a chance it's not gonna, you know, because it work hardens, basically. It gets more brittle each time you do that. So I would probably, if you're gonna get any of them, go for the black one. But I don't think you need to go for a cable that is this high end anymore. We'll find out, because a follow-up video here. I have, there's actually there's one US custom company that makes cables now that the M1's available, and they have a connector I've never seen. I did see it on AliExpress, so maybe a Chinese company is making a screw-on 4.4 mil quarter-inch jack. But then GEEKRIA, the company that makes this case, also makes a cable for this. Sadly, with it being here this time, normally I give some impressions of how it sounds. in the video where I open it up, but often that can take me, it's going to be at least a half hour usually when I'm listening to tunes, or an hour, sometimes 2 hours if I really get into it, if it's a nice pair of headphones because I'm enjoying myself, which Sony, I really like their reference lineup, especially their closed backs. Here. I unknowingly have been using this since I basically was born. So these and the Cost Porta Pros were my childhood. Both great headphones, by the way. So check them out. MDR-M1s, I'll have a link down below in the description. I think they're normally 200 something. My order is on the way. MDR-M1. So they're normally $270. All right. So here, $270. Wow. Right. $268. All right. However, I did find them on sale for $238. Then if you go back to Musician's Friend, they still have members save 20% off over $100 with code VAT, right? So you just knock flat 20% off. So I only spent, it was like 200 after tax. It was like 188 or something before tax. I think these were 238 on Amazon as well. Boop, boop, boop. Yep, but they're back up. So they're 270 normally. Keep an eye out, because like I said, there was just a sale. No idea why there was a sale. And a question on some of these. Is that right? 24 ohms. I don't know about that, because if we go to the specs page, 50 ohms. 24 on the M1ST. Oh, here's the custom. They're making a Mogami cable from Fog City Audio. That's the only place in the US. And look at that. That is a screw-on 4-pole 1/4 inch, and you can get a balanced 4-pin or a 4-point formula or a bunch of other shit, like a 2.5, right? Now they say Mogami, so that's probably where the I believe it's another Japanese brand. That's probably where that connector is coming from. Now, when I searched on 3.5 millimeter 4-pole locking connector, and we went to AliExpress. No, that's not right. Switchcraft right here. That is the brand that the 3-pole is from. Images. It was an AliExpress seller. Might take me a little bit to find it again. We probably won't do that in this video. But yeah, just scrolling through and searching it. Like, that's very similar to the Switchcraft one. Quality connector. Locking is actually like a metal one. Yeah, it looked like, and I don't know if it's it's probably a knockoff of if that is truly a Mogami connector from here. So maybe I'll order up a custom cable from Fog City Audio. I've heard good things about them. 5 foot, I can get that as a minimum. That's what I like. So there you go, 5'1", custom made. They also have here you go. They have, if you'd rather have the spiral twin Mogami, which they said is custom built. If you prefer a thicker cable, spiral twin, TRS, MV1, M1, M1A. These M1A and M1A2, it will not screw into. That is what the previous 2 cables I showed you are from Sony, and that's more their prosumer / audiophile grade out of Japan. Spiral twin, threaded 3.5 mil. Here, built with 26 gauge Mogami, oxygen free copper. And what was this guy? 26. Yeah. So one of those two. That one's $104 though for the 5 foot. Rough, I tell you. But yeah. So like I said, and I don't know if that is like a connector. High chance is a Chinese company knocking off the official one, right? There is, however, and this is probably the one that I would recommend you getting. Right here, GEEKRIA, same model as the case. They have one that's a couple dollars cheaper. That is, this is 8 strands. The other one is only 4 strands. But it is a locking connector to a 4.4 mil. So if we do Sony for 3.5 millimeter balance locking. A lot of it's going to come up with these. That's only a 3-pole, right? So if you do a 4-pole, not a 4-pole, they have this. That's a TRRS, but that's like some weird cable for like a. I got all these things. GEEKRIA makes it. There are some other. If you search, like, you can see them down here. They're like Elvin's cables. They're like these really specified audio gear cables. If you do Sony M1 ST balance cable, M1 ST cable, you might. I'm doing bad with the M's and L's. There are these. Both these are GU Craftsman. They look like just fucking garbage. So we go here, GU Craftsman. See, that connector kind of looks like that connector, right? Which means they're getting it from someplace. Now, those 2 connectors do look a little different. Not much, but a little. Which makes me think that, you know, that's more available. So this is the knockoff Sony cable right there. You can see it. And that one isn't labeled Sony. A lot of these say they're Sony, right? But that looks identical. That has, you can see that connector on those ends look exactly like the Sony ones. But what is missing right here? It's only a 3-pole. So a lot of these will say like, oh, you know, it's the Sony one, blah, 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 blah. But they won't have the 4-pole balanced connector on them, right? And even some of the ones, like AliExpress had a run on them, and people were running if they went out the back door or something. No idea. But I probably wouldn't go this route, because if you're going to spend $68 on Amazon for a GU Craftsman, or whatever this is, you know, and that is a, does it even say how long it is? 1.8 meters, which is like 6 foot. Go over to Fog City Audio. Like $74.95 gets you as a 5 foot. $79.95 gets you a 6 foot. Spend the couple bucks extra if you're spending, or if you're already spending this much. Like, buy a proper custom one from a custom company. You can even choose your color and shit, right? Don't no, because also this connector on that end looks like butts. if you're trying to save some money, like I am for the M1, because it's a little bit of a cheaper headphone, and also I want to try it, check out the GEEKRIA stuff. Like I said, I didn't see any reason why not to go to the more premium one, because it's I think it was $36.90 when I ordered. You know, this is a 4-strand. I did the 8 strands. We'll be cracking that open probably the next video. So those of you, let's see here, GEEKRIA, and if we do M1ST, I'll try to put this in the thing as well. That might be the case right there. Let me look at my history though, because I will find it. I tell you what. GEEKRIA. They actually make really good cases. If you need hard, especially this like velour outternal hard, like EVA leather outer, they make good. For example, I have one for, and these look the same, but they're not. I have one for, well, those might be the same. Those are for my R70X and my R70X Refine. Here you go, Geek oversized overshield case. This is for a Sennheiser 800S in Beyerdynamic, so that's got my Beyerdynamic headset in it, not headphone, headset. Here you go, compatible with Sony. Which one's which? Okay, so these I have some. Oh, these are my Denons, ADH 2000s in them. Fit beautifully. And you can see they have AHD 9200, but the whole line's the same. You know, and these guys right here, last purchase February 2nd, 2022. I think that's shortly after or shortly before I started my current job. So I'm gonna add another one of these in my cart, because as you guys saw, they fit the M1s, and it's always nice to have a nice hard case to put them in, because then you can throw them in your back of a pack without them worried about getting caught or wrecked. The other thing is, worst case, if you have to put on the outside of the back of a pack, it's a hard case. You don't have to worry about it. So questions, comments, throw them down below. I obviously have not listened to these yet. I'm going to do a little bit of listening tonight. But hopefully we'll come back at a later time so I can do some A/B testing. That's actually why I got that XLR to 4.4 mil up, because all of my Sonys are 4.4 mil. And if you notice, even on the mighty topping DX9, there's only one XLR, one 4.4 mil, and 1/4 inch. So in order to test this out, I'm going to have to convert the XLR to 4.4 mil. So I had to go upstairs, find my DX7S, which is in my office waiting for me to get back up in there, and I can use that for my separate office desk, and steal this from it so that we can do some A/B testing with the Audio Technicas. We didn't have to do that because I have a XLR cable and I have a 4.4 mil. However, 4.4 mil is so much more convenient. So that's why I'd rather have that if I have devices that can do that. So questions, comments, throw them down below. Are you guys picking up the MDR-M1? Were you looking for a final, full, true successor to the 7506? Because you've got it here. Or are you like me, in some cases, and you're just gonna go and grab your trusty 1990s MDR V6s? Hopefully we'll see up in a follow-up video where I can take a look at the GEEKRIA cable that is now available in the US and is a quite reasonable price. You know, if you do spend full price for these, like what was it, $268 for $300, you got a nice balanced cable at a reasonable length, and or like more of a desktop length, right? And a very, very nice pair of closed back headphones that if you're not used to a Sony reference sound, it might take you a little bit, but it is, so much of the world is tuned on their studio reference sound that it's a thing. Yeah, like it's a thing. And that's why I have always preferred that. It's also why I like the Audio Technica R70Xs. Their Audio Technica's only open back reference monitor. I just prefer that sort of reference sound versus your sort of V shape. Your even the audiophile sounds. A lot of those are trying to be more playful to give you a reason to pick up a new pair of headphones rather than just trying to be accurate and represent what was recorded. And you're like, well, those aren't perfectly flat. That might not be the point. I'm being told what I need to be doing right now, as you guys can tell. Yeah. Just put your big butt in the face. Yeah, is that what you're doing? Right here? This thing? Right here? Yeah. Alright. Hopefully we'll see you in future videos. Subscribe, like, all that sort of stuff. We do have a Discord if you want to discuss this sort of stuff. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.